Don't want to end up like him? Good, no one does. Luckily, I'm here to teach you the Blacksite dual legend loud strategies. The essential perk that you or your teammate need is Explosive Entry. This gives you the ability to bring breaching charges into missions. Optional perks are Firebug and Surveillance State, which gives you the ability to take and use blowtorches, and the ability to take cams and make them automatically mark targets. The loadouts for both players are similar. The weapons, armor, and concealed wearable are yours to choose. Gear selection is divided into two groups, team gear and player gear. As a team, you need 2 breaching charges max. For the players, a blowtorch and 2 cams can be taken if available. Then, fill up the empty spaces with first aid kits if you need them. Here is where the mission begins. For this part, avoid raising the alarms immediately. This can save you some time for the restricted area. A good practice you can easily follow is to carefully climb the ladder and ensure no guards can detect you or your teammate's presence. Container climbing is also a necessity to further reduce the risk of detection. It can be done by jumping and shaking your camera left and right repeatedly. Once you reach the catwalk, be ready to shoot any guards or cameras. Walk up to the entrance window and break your way in. The alarm should typically start around here. The later, the better. Either way, move on quickly. Restricted area is a straightforward part. There's only one spawn point available for the enemies, which is located at the hall near the cafeteria. Thanks to the small head start you did, you can simply rush through. Though, you may have to neutralize a few guards on your way. In case the enemies spawn too early, you can try to peek around the corner and clear the way ahead. The main objective here is to reach a door leading to the ventilation room. Whoever gets to the door first should be the one planting the breaching charge. If possible, preserve your ammunition for later. They will stop once they realize they have to jump down a 4.256 meter drop. This should give you and your mate some time to breathe. As you come inside this room, a new task will appear. Hold on, gonna shoot this guard. Anyways, find rows. The cell window requires either a drill or a blowtorch. There's a free drill inside this ready room. However, its position is randomized every time between 3 possibilities. With 2 players, locating rows should be quick. If she's in cell C or cell D, congratulations, as these are the best possible cells that she can be in. If she's in cell B, prepare to be shot a few times. If she's in cell A, one person should take cover under the stairs. Remember, once you enter this sacred control room, the enemies from before will die. Literally. And new enemies will start to spawn inside the cell block. Open the correct cell and spawn camp the enemies. Don't worry, it's not a PvP game. Enter Rosa's cell when enough enemies are killed, usually around 2 to 3 teams. For the person who's rescuing Rose, there's a special trick that you can pull off to get yourself out of danger. If you didn't know already, triggering the cutscene will grant you a temporary invisibility state. It will also realign your character to face the west. You can remember the direction as facing cell A. Additionally, your character's movement is not halted in any way. Combine these facts and glitches together and you get yourself this. Do note that you cannot see yourself during this phase. If you get yourself stuck on a random object once the cutscene ends, good luck. Safely move to the blast door and start a time lock. The goal here is to defend the panel and yourself for 3 minutes. You may place some spare cams to help with tracking enemies. At this point, both of you should be taking cover behind the center barricade. The other 2 are death traps, so don't ever consider using them. Each player should take care of one side. Occasionally, some enemies will spawn on the ground floor. The cams should be able to mark them sooner or later. They give you the opportunity to surprise attack the enemies from your cover. This part can get slightly repetitive, so try not to fall asleep in the process. Wolves will notify you when the blast door is finally open. Make your way to the supply room on the second floor. Beware that there are multiple enemy spawn points, and they can immediately start spawning enemies, as the ones before are mostly non-existent. Use your last breaching charge to unlock the supply room if necessary. Inside the room, try not to waste too much time. Both of you should start carrying the demolition charges. You can use the saw blades to refill your 5.56 ammunition. However, it's not detrimental to stock up fully. You're already near the end of this mission. In order to get to the anti-air gun safely, you want to avoid getting into a kill box. The last metal cam you build will automatically mark targets every 2 seconds, so choose wisely. Keep clear of open spaces and peek around corners before traversing through. For the right side, eliminate enemies around the bridge and climb up the ladder. For the left side, you should always take the stairwell up, since it's safer and faster. Planting can be done properly by jumping on the table and interacting with the ceiling. You don't want to just jump in the middle due to it having a clear line of sight with the enemies outside. With the charges now planted, Wolves will call Jake's Pizza and start hacking the exit panel. The hack takes 1 minute and 30 seconds. Wolves may scream a bit, but you don't have to care about her. It's recommended that you take your time and make sure the perimeter is safe before attempting to move to Rose. The metal camps that you placed earlier are useful around here. Finally, once 1.5 minutes of hack time has passed and all players arrive at the exit, the blast door will open, which leads you to Falcon's helicopter. Alternatively, there's another strategy that, in theory, requires no skill perks. The loadout here differs slightly, as you'll be needing someone who'll be carrying a Thumper. Breaching charges, blowtorches, and metal cams can still be taken if you have the skill perks for them. The mission plays out similarly to the previous strategy. Attempt stealth up into the entrance and rush through the restricted area. You can use a breaching charge to unlock the ventilation room, but you can also use the Thumper to force it open. In the cell block, find Rose as usual. Once Rose gets out of her shell, the person with the Thumper needs to be inside the control room hiding behind the panels. And they also need to be holding the Thumper out. The other person can go through and start a panel override at the blast door. If you're familiar with the Facts and Glitches series, you may remember that this is something about the threat level system. To recap the important details from the video, basically, the weapon you hold affects the likelihood of enemies targeting you. The Thumper has the highest threat level, which can make enemies favor those with the weapon more than any other player. So by abusing that system here, you can lure most of the enemies away to Rose and the Thumper user, and create a semi-safe state for the objective player. The one doing the objectives may be safe most of the time, but they should try to be on the lookout for enemies who may target them. They can reduce the threat level by not equipping any weapon unless going into combat. The objectives here are to wait for a 3-minute time lock, reach into the supply room, and plant both demolition charges. These parts can be long and dangerous. However, the Thumper user can help a bit by counting how many enemies are coming towards Rose. The objective player should only move around winnable areas when the majority of enemies are spotted near the cell block. Lastly, you will now have to focus on your escape. The objective guy can camp around the container near the exit, or simply stay inside the room after they planted the charge. The Thumper guy must move along with Rose, but don't stick too close to her as you may encounter enemies on the way. It's best to let Rose handle the pathway to the exit, though be wary that she has a chance to just teleport away to the panel, leaving anyone behind alone. The Exfiltration plays exactly like the original strategy. Wait 1.5 minutes for Rose and ride Falcon's helicopter back to Halcyon. Special thanks to Donut Amiboofake. In the next episode, we'll teach you about the financier. Until then, farewell.